Elliott Forrest here from WQXR. Joining me now is Lara Downs. So good to see you, even in these trying times.
Always good to see you, no matter what the times.
I want to start today with an article you just wrote. Let me get it's I Care If You Listen. It's a blog, an online post. It was pretty heartbreaking, really. You sort of, and I'm sure the story is repeated over and over and over again with different artists, and including the concerts that I produce, where it was first one and then another cancellation and then everything. What was that like for you?
I mean, I think that was the hard part was that it was so gradual, because we kept getting hopeful again and again, early May will be fine, maybe not, early mid May. And it was this process of um, grieving that really took a toll. I think it would have been easier if we had just understood clearly from the beginning, you're not going anywhere until whenever. We still don't know whenever. But that was really hard, I think, because it was just this sort of. I mean, when I look back, it was this sort of magical thinking, really thinking that maybe this would all be over in 2 weeks. I'm not sure, but yeah, that was really rough.
Right, and getting adjusting to this new normal for you. What have you been doing? Where is your thinking now about how you can contribute, how you can be creative, how you can be productive?
So you know me, I need to stay busy. I tried the lying in bed and crying thing, and that didn't work well. So I did start to think right away about what I could do. I did my first live stream on last week, and I found it honestly really challenging. What I love the most about performing is the physical being with an audience. I feel it very deeply. And so to try to create that when, what you have in the room with you is a phone, it's hard. And it's a different medium. It's we're talking to each other over a screen. That's another thing. But just to put that out in a one-sided way, even though I was aware of the reception that was happening on the other side of the phone, it's still a phone. So it's trying to, learn to well, I mean, everything is adapting. There's so much adapting, and it's one step at a time.
You do have a new album that's just coming out just as this whole thing is hitting, and once again, the focus is on American music. Why has so much of your life and career been focused on American music?
Um, I think the short answer to that is just trying to understand. Trying to understand who I am as an artist and a human, and who my people are. Who we all are, how we fit together. Um, the stories that we know, but more importantly, the stories that we don't know, the things that connect us. I think that my musicianship has sort of come of age during a really interesting time in this country. We've seen so many shifts. We had our first Black president, and we had all of the reaction to that. I think we've had tremendous division. We've had sort of truths revealed that we thought we had um, overcome. It's been a time of so much change. I never saw that coming, and so I think that my curiosity and my digging has really been very much connected to the time that I'm living, that we're living, and I don't know, trying to connect the past to the present to the future, because I think that the lessons of the past are so important right now, and we tend to forget them, and we think that the things that we're experiencing are unprecedented, and they never are. Just kind of, yeah, leaning on that cushion of history.
As we record this, it's Florence Price's birthday this week, and you include her music. What has she meant to you? And for those who don't know, tell us a little bit about her.
Yeah, so going back to when I was first exploring American music, because I did my studies in Europe, and when I was a kid, I just had no connection to American concert music. I came back here and wanted to find out, what it was, and I I knew just a little bit. I knew Copeland, I knew Barber, I knew Bernstein, and I thought there must probably be more, and started digging around to find the less obvious figures, and found Florence Price in a compilation called an anthology of music by Black women composers, and just fell in love with that first piece of hers that I found. And over these last years, what is it now, about 10 years ago, that a lot of her work was discovered in an abandoned house in Illinois. And so all these papers were collected and taken down to the University of Arkansas, where a good friend of mine named Michael Cooper, who's a musicologist, who had discovered Florence Price through my first recording of her work, got inspired to go down and start digging through those papers. She was, just a fascinating figure. And I think like what I love about these discoveries is the process of, kind of resurrecting people who had incredible existence in their own time. So Florence Price was the first Black woman composer ever performed by a major symphony orchestra in 1933. She was very connected to this really vital moment of time in Chicago and New York, when there was so much blossoming in the arts, and really an important figure. And her music is really unique and special. And again, it's a thing that we only find in American music, where she's taking these different traditions and pulling them together. In this case, the European concert tradition and the African American traditional spirituals. So sorry, I'm going on and on, but that's sort of at the core of this album, which is a collection of freedom songs and spirituals, songs of hope, courage, survival.
Well, we need all that. It's called Some of These Days. And you feature some friends of mine, some neighbors, actually, a couple of women I've presented a couple of times, the Chapin sisters, related to Tom Chapin and Harry Chapin as well. How did you hook up with them?
We met, it's about a year ago, we met at this tribute to Judy Collins at Joe's Pub. We were all special guests of Judy, and we were singing together, and at the end of the concert, we all took the stage, and Joe's Pub, the stage is pretty small. There were a lot of us. We were all crammed together, and we were singing "Amazing Grace" as an encore. And I was standing in between the Chapins and their dad, who's twice my height. Jimmy Webb was on the other side of me, and we were just singing this song. There were artists from so many different backgrounds and genres, and it was just this moment where you felt the music passing through you, and all these traditions coming together. Was really beautiful. And they're wonderful musicians. So I called upon them to sing "We Shall Overcome" on the album. And it's a really beautiful track. And yeah, this music has taken on a whole new meaning, of course. I mean, I would not have imagined during this past year, when I was putting the project together, what we would have to overcome. These are songs, again, this question of lessons of the past. I mean, there's songs that have seen us through so many things. But here we are with something brand new, pretty much unprecedented. And I feel like we can still take courage and strength from the knowledge that we can lean on each other, we can lean on our music and our history, and move forward the way we do.
You have another project about feeding America. Tell us about that.
Well, you asked how I'm managing to feel useful. And I am, like I said, I'm struggling a bit with this notion of being enclosed. But I thought that the one thing that I could do certainly was to use the music to raise awareness and raise money for things that are important. Feeding America is this organization that has over 200 food banks all over the country. One thing that I see really strongly in my community here in California, where we have so many people who are experiencing homelessness, and there's always, there's always a need for the food banks to serve a wide population. In fact, one of the last weekends before we were on shutdown, I had gone to volunteer at our local food bank on a Sunday morning. But now there's just such demand. There's so many people who are all of a sudden out of work and have this catastrophic loss of income, and families who need support, and all these kids who are out of school who normally depend on that resource. So I've been raising money for Feeding America through the live stream I gave last week, and another one I'm doing on April 12th in collaboration with the Violin Channel. And I'll just keep going. I've been giving, using the album, I just happen to have it here. I've been using the album as an incentive. So anyone who gives $40 or more to Feeding America gets a beautiful signed copy of the album. Oh, can I show you something? This is
Sure.
something cool. So, I work with kids a lot. And I have this school in Watts in Los Angeles where I've been involved. So it's a charter school, elementary through middle school. And, right in the middle of Watts, and just an incredible community of educators and students. So when we were putting the album together, I wanted to include some artwork by one of the kids from the school in Watts. So this is when you open the album, can you see it? Well,
Yeah.
when you open it up, this is an illustration by a 7th grader named Elliott Forrest. And I don't know how well you can see, but it's really beautiful. And in fact, there's all this text, equality, equal rights, liberty, freedom, end racism, freedom, fairness. It just was so perfect. So that was something that made me really happy. And this is my Marian Anderson tribute photo in the middle. And I wrote a lot in the album notes too. I mean, it was interesting. Over the holiday break, I sat down and I wrote my album notes. And at that time, I wasn't thinking about pandemics, but I was certainly thinking about a lot of other problems that are still and always here. And so as I was connecting with each of these songs, Deep River, Steal Away, Troubled Water, sometimes I feel like a motherless child. I'm writing the notes. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. And at that moment, families were being separated at the border, and I was just being thrust into the reality of how timeless these songs are. So they still are, more so, I guess.
The album is called Some of These Days. We'll give some links to the Feeding America and some of the other charities that you talked about. We've known each other for a couple of years now, and we've been fortunate enough to spend some time. And I look forward to seeing you in person, and I know your audience misses you as well.
I miss all of you. I can't wait till I can be back in the city. I'm so grateful to all of you. You talk about adapting, and I look at what you've done at the station and at radio stations all around the country. And I know that you're hearing from listeners, but I think it's one of the most important things that's happening right now is that the music keeps coming. Can you imagine? One of my closest friends in the city, she's up on 85th and West End, and sometimes I stay with her, and she has QXR playing in her kitchen all day, every day. And it's really a lifeline, which is wearing my t-shirt. I love
I
you
was
guys.
going to thank you for wearing the WQXR t-shirt. Thank you so much for that. And yes, from my house to yours, this is where I broadcast every day on WQXR from my home. And I've talked about it on the air. It takes a real village, a technical village, and a lot of producers. It's a real team at WQXR to be able to get us to be on the air every day, 24/7, all from our homes, which is kind of amazing. But we all want to be back on stage as well. We have a lot of live performances we want to be able to do, as I know you do as well.
I really do. Can I just please get out there soon?
Yes, yes, you can. Lara Downs, thank you so much for spending time with me.
Talk to you soon.